Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're calling in from, and welcome to our Benefits of Traveling Within a Private Club webinar. We've had more than 200 registrants for today's final webinar in our series of 3, and we're so thrilled that you're joining us today. So thank you for your time. My name is Erin Lentz, and I am the host of your series and the editor-in-chief of Curated Magazine by Exclusive Resorts. Today, we're going to be joined by 4 members of Exclusive's executive team, and we're going to be talking about the background of Exclusive Resorts, and again, the benefits of a vacation club. For nearly 2 decades, Exclusive Resorts has provided safe sanctuaries for its members while also offering a significant financial value for high-end vacations. Our panelists today are going to talk about the value of a membership, the meticulously vetted portfolio of destinations, and then, of course, the new stringent cleaning procedures given today's new current climate. And then also we're going to touch upon the deeply personalized service, which certainly sets Exclusive Resorts apart. Before we introduce everyone, just a few tips for how things are going to go. We will introduce our panelists, and then we've had some questions that have come in by our registrants prior to the session, and we've incorporated those in today's Q&A with our panelists. And then feel free as well. We want this to be as interactive as possible too, and we're going to reserve some time at the end for some Q&As. So please use your Q&A function that's found at the middle of your screen to send in questions, and we'll be sure to get to as many of those as possible. If we do run out of time, please know that we'll be following up with you directly. And also, this is being recorded, so we'll be able to share the link if you need to cut out early or you want to forward it on to anyone. We'll have the link available as well. So with that, let's get right to it. I'm going to go around the room and have our panelists introduce themselves. Robin, let's start with you with your role at Exclusive Resorts and a little bit more about what you do within the company.
Sure. Thanks, Erin, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the call today. I'm Robin Wong, EVP of Finance for Exclusive Resorts. A little bit of background about me. I'm actually a fairly new addition to the Exclusive team, having joined the club last summer. I bring over 20 years of international finance experience to the club, predominantly in the luxury travel, hospitality, and vacation club industries. Prior to joining Exclusive, I spent the past 10 years running finance for luxury tour operator Abercrombie & Kent, based in Chicago. Clearly, this isn't a Chicago or a Denver accent. I'm originally from the UK, where I started my career in London, and I've been fortunate enough to work all over the globe, and like everyone here at Exclusive, I have a huge passion for travel.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robin. And Jay, over to you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. So glad you guys could all join us here today. My name is Jay Wong. I am the Executive Vice President of Member Experience for Exclusive Resorts. And that does mean something a little bit different at each company. So for Exclusive, what that means is that every single person that has a member-facing touch point with the club, that is to say, those who interface with all of you, should you guys choose to become members, are part of my purview. So that is inclusive of the resort operations team, which are all of our concierge, housekeeping maintenance staff out in the field, inclusive of our member services team, which really comprise of our ambassadors, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a little bit, as well as our experience collection, which Gina back oversees, and she'll introduce herself in just one second as well. So had some great experiences here. I joined in November of 2018, and prior to that, has spent a lot of time in hospitality across a number of different roles. Most recently, before this, I founded the Americas Portfolio Management team over at Four Seasons, and then before that, I worked at Starwood Hotels in a variety of different roles, inclusive of global operations. I was director of the luxury collection brand, and then most recently, prior to joining Four Seasons, I oversaw the integration process between Marriott and Starwood. As you guys may know, it was acquired in 2016. So with that, very excited to be here and happy to address any questions you might have.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jay. And we certain to circle up with you on questions for sure. And since you mentioned Gina, let's send it over to you. If you can introduce yourself and explain your role at the club.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gina Bach. I've actually been with Exclusive Resorts over 16 years. Very proud of that. I started in the travel industry at Marriott's Travel Company doing incentive trips. So if any of you have ever been on an incentive trip, won an incentive trip, or hosted one, you've probably been on a Marriott's incentive trip. So I've been on over 100 of those. I have now been at Exclusive Resorts over 16 years. I started in our resort operations team and actually was on the founding team for the Once in a Lifetime trips in 2008 and have never turned back. Like Robin and Jay and Rachel, who you'll meet, we all love to travel. Everyone always asks me, because my job is in travel, how many countries have you been to? So I'll get that out right now. I've been to over 70, and most of them 2 or 3 times, because we always scout the trip and then we go back on the member trip. So a lot of travel experience here for you, and we're excited to share more on this webinar today.
Wonderful. 70 countries. That's amazing. Rachel, if you can introduce yourself as well.
The best part is that you've got some seasoned people with Gina and I who have been here a while, and then you've got Jay and Robin who are bringing in the breath of fresh air. So like Gina, I have been with the club for 15 years. My family and I are members ourselves. We joined the club about 16 years ago, and it has really been transformative in my life. I run the global sales and new member acquisition for Exclusive Resorts, and have really spent the majority of my time upon working at this amazing club in member acquisition. So I probably hold the record, certainly in the company, maybe in the industry, for welcoming new members to this way of travel. It has been an honor to do so, and to watch so many families as they have grown within their time in the club. So my team is responsible for kind of member communities within different parts of the country, as well as welcoming new families to Exclusive Resorts. So we are thrilled that you're listening today, and look forward to sharing more with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to all of you. Let's start off with talking about a little bit of the history and background of Exclusive Resorts. Robin, we'll begin with you. Talk a little bit about why Exclusive Resorts was founded.
Thanks, Erin. Very good question. So Exclusive Resorts is a private vacation club for families who appreciate luxury villa accommodations, personalized service, and the value of predictable rates. We were founded nearly 2 decades ago to meet a gap in the vacation industry and provide a solution as the best way for families to travel. You know, I don't know about you, but you know, there are times when I feel that my family has definitely outgrown hotel accommodation.
Yeah.
We often, you know, travel with friends and extended family, particularly because, you know, I have a lot of family back in the UK. So when we vacation, we need more space. You know, more space makes a much more pleasant and fun family vacation experience. You know, particularly for me, I have young kids, and having room for them to run around and time for me and my wife to be kind of a little bit away from them and together as a family is fantastic. You know, there are villa rental companies out there that offer something similar, yet the product and experience can be very hit or miss, especially on the service side. And planning and choosing a villa is a real headache that I'm sure we've all been through. You know, and I think ultimately this is why many families often choose to purchase a vacation home. Yet, you know, for anyone that's owned a second home, it's a hassle, it's expensive, and you're tied to that one destination. You just don't end up using it as much as you'd originally planned. So, you know, what Exclusive offers is a solution for all of that. You know, we provide an experience like traveling to your own second home, but without all those downsides. The club has a portfolio of around 400 multi-million-dollar residences in over 75 global destinations, with plenty of space and privacy. Many also have access to 5-star resorts and amenities, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. And, you know, we've also done the research. You've heard about, you know, Gina's extensive travel, and the same for the rest of us and the entire team. We've done the research of where to go, what to do. We're travel experts, and, you know, we can really make your vacations, you know, unforgettable. In terms of the service model, our personalized service model grants kind of every member their own vacation ambassador, someone who gets to know your family. You can pick up the phone and call or text them, and Jay will go into a lot more detail about this as we kind of go through the questions today. But while on vacation as well, you get a dedicated on-site concierge to take care of, you know, your every need, from stocking the fridge with your favorite beverage and groceries before you arrive, to organizing private chef for meals, yacht rentals, or maybe finding a unique local experience for your family to enjoy together. I think, from a financial perspective, we offer a fixed price model. That's something very unique to the industry, so that there's no need for hours online hunting around, reading reviews and price shopping, and obviously, a much more efficient option than buying a second home. So ultimately, I think, our goal is to provide a safe sanctuary for our members, a consistent, effortless luxury vacation experience at an incredible value. And, we've been successfully doing that for the past couple of decades.
Wonderful. Thank you. I love that term, safe sanctuary, because that equals peace of mind, which we'll talk about a little bit further, and is so important today. Rachel, you mentioned this in your introduction, how long you've been with Exclusive Resorts, and you've obviously worked with all different types of members. And people join in all different stages of life, whether they're empty nesters or young members with young children. So talk to us a little bit about how different types of families use the club.
Sure, that's I think I said it in the beginning. That's really the best part about Exclusive Resorts, is that once a family joins, we can really grow and change with you as your life stage changes. And oftentimes, as we're working with new families looking at the club, depending on their life stage, the decision to join and the meaning to join is unique. But that also, the value of what we create is they're able to kind of select over time what's important to them and what's important to each family. As I said, we joined, looking at 16 years ago prior to kids, and made that decision personally to bring our extended family together and to really share those memories with my parents and sisters. Very different now with the 7 and a 10-year-old on the value and what Exclusive Resorts means to our family, as all y'all with small children might know. So when you look at kind of the reasoning and you think about young families, I get asked often, what are the kind of demographics of people within Exclusive Resorts? And about 40% or so of our members have young children. And when members with young families elect to join the club, it's because they're choosing to spend that precious limited time they have with their children. And oftentimes I've heard, gosh, I have 5 spring breaks left until my son goes to college. Or I've actually heard a child tell their parent that, Dad, you only have a couple of spring breaks with me left, and they did join Exclusive Resorts. I'd love to hire her if she ever would want to come into sales at this point in time. But they do, they choose that because of that precious time. Also because our service team that Jay will tell you more about, I'm sure, really creates this just easy, stress-free. Yes, I've said stress-free with children. I know those words aren't usually, linked together when looking at traveling with small children, but we just make it effortless and easy. And there is just incredible value at understanding and knowing what's important to each family. I often say we build a dossier of who you are, what's important, what your kids enjoy. So by the time you take your second or third trip, that we know what's important to those kiddos and how to make that experience really special. And there is a real value for young families in that kind of world-class partner access we have with resorts and kids clubs, so that during the day they can be around other kids, but you come home and share dinner at a table in your private home at night and play Yahtzee on the coffee table. There's no place for that, and how we love that about traveling now with our children. And then about a quarter of our member families have older children. So when you get into adult children who are in high school or college, really what Gina does becomes so meaningful to our children and into our families, getting to experience different cultures and different places and these curated trips where you're safe and every detail's been thought of from you, so you can pick up and go and know that having that experience and really immersing in the culture of different places and allowing your children to see that the world is a really big place is important for that kind of life stage. And then about 40% of our members are empty nesters and have children that are in college or past college, or adult children. That's happening one day for me. I'm not sure. It seems like a long way away with a 10-year-old, but at some point. And really they come back and use our portfolio collection, or what Robin was talking about, to create these really special multi-generational travels and with their grandkids and their kids. And that is something incredibly special. And then we've purposely made additions into our core portfolio that are smaller residences, 2-bedroom homes, 1-bedroom homes, so that members can just slip away at that life stage with another couple or just independent with one another. And then what I also have found is that members kind of in that life, this current life stage, love to share exclusive resorts with their children. So gifting weeks to their children so that they can share that with their families is a really meaningful way for those kind of empty nesters, if you will, to share exclusive resorts and to continue those memories that they might have made when we had their kids at home and now in the next life phase.
Right. You bringing up the gifting, it reminds me, Rachel, one of our members was talking about how she gifts all of her grandchildren and children vacations. And, that really speaks to creating a travel legacy, which is just so amazing that we're able to offer that. We've mentioned service now a few times. So I want to dive right into that with you, Jay, because for me, when I first experienced exclusive resorts, that was the true differentiator. So speak to us about the service organization and how that works within exclusive resorts.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll be the first to say that Robin and Rachel have already stolen a lot of that thunder, because I am proud to say that service very much is one of the bedrocks of what we do here at Exclusive Resorts. And the reality is it's a little hard to articulate, right? Because the reality is any luxury hotel offering or resort accommodation offering that you have nowadays, they pitch service. You have 5-star service. What does that actually mean, right? But for us, and really having come from the likes of the Luxury Collection brand and Four Seasons, seeing the relationships that our people build with our members is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and really is something that I think, frankly, has kept us so well supported throughout this otherwise, quite unprecedented time of travel. So when it comes to service, there really are 2 key points of contact that we build with our members. So when you first join, you will be assigned an ambassador. And that ambassador really is your key to unlocking the secrets within exclusive resorts, right? If you want to have your destination dream vacation, for spring break to Anguilla, or you want to go on a once-in-a-lifetime journey, to Botswana, like all of these options are things that you can work through with your ambassador. But I think what really brings this one step ahead and above the typical relationship is how personal it really gets. Right? When I first started speaking with our ambassadors about what they know about their members, it goes so much deeper than the fact that, oh, they always like to go to this place, right? They know that they have 3 children, one's about to graduate college. Last birthday, they wanted to go to Anguilla, but there was a hurricane, so they couldn't go. So this time we're going to make it much more special. I mean, that type of intimate knowledge, I think, is unlike anything I have ever seen before. And I think the reason because of that, the reason for that rather, is because of the ratio of ambassador to members that we have, right? Right now, we have about 4,000 members inside our system, and we have about 60 ambassadors. If you work out the math, that comes out to, on average, about 65 members per ambassador. And when you compare that to other luxury hotel offerings like the Four Seasons, like Marriott, all of which have ambassadors, by the way, they say we have this ambassador approach for you. That ratio is much higher. It's closer to 250 to 350 members per ambassador. So I think it's no wonder that you can really build a truly special relationship within exclusive resorts as a result of this relationship. The second thing I want to mention too is the idea of a member profile. So after you join, you get to know your ambassador, they get to know your preferences, what you like, what your favorite hobbies are, what you dislike. We start to build a member profile for you. And so with that profile, you have a lot of information, right? Key places that you've been, your satisfaction score. So we know if you've had a good experience or a bad one, what your preferences are, hobbies and interests, in-residence preferences, how you like to communicate with your concierge and with your ambassador. All of these are truly meant to really envelop a very specific and deliberate service experience that is so differentiated from just going to the average hotel. Because one thing that I like to tout too, and no disregard to Four Seasons, I still love the hotels there, no question. But anybody can go, right? You have enough money, you pay and book a room online, you can go there. They don't know who you are. In our case, you have to make a very active, deliberate decision to join exclusive resorts. And it's a big deal when you join, right? The commitment is fairly high. But once you do, we make that effort to really get to know you like nobody else does. So that's the first part of the ecosystem, which is the ambassador world. The second part is the concierge, and those are the people that you see on the ground when you go to each one of our residence collection homes. And really, I am so impressed with the type of service and personalization that these people deliver, because with that member profile, that really is the secret to unlocking a truly personalized experience every single time you go to a new place. So that whether it's your first time or your 30th time, right? No joke, we do have members that go 30, 40, or 50 times to a single destination, and they treat our concierge like family. We know you, and we can give you the preferences. We can set up the home exactly the way you like, so that it really is a unique experience that you feel like is truly your second home. So I guess in conclusion, the way I would think about our service experience is in 3 key categories. One is consistency. We manage and oversee and build very specific relationships with all of our housekeeping partners at every single destination. So we know exactly how they're cleaning our homes, so that you have, and we'll talk a little bit more about later, but that idea of safe sanctuary, we keep that and hold that very near and dear to our hearts. Part 2 is personalization, right? Truly having a super personal relationship with your concierge and your ambassador, that really creates that trifecta between your family and 2 key points of contact. And then 3 is that seamless handoff between the ambassador and the concierge, right? I think part of the reason why this whole member experience ecosystem works so well is that we really try to connect the dots in ways that nobody else does, so that in between the trips, you're talking to the ambassador, you're planning, you're talking about this big reunion, a big anniversary, and then that information goes to concierge, so that it feels like you're never skipping a beat no matter where you're with us.
Great. And let's stick with this personalized service a little bit more, Jay, because when I've been lucky enough to engage with members, typically what I'm first to hear are, these milestone moments and how such a bespoke or personalized experience was created for them. So can you give us a couple more sort of real world examples of how Exclusive has really taken the service level up a notch?
Absolutely. And where do I start, I think, is my initial
There's probably
reaction
quite
for
a
this.
few examples you can give.
There are certainly
Top two.
fine, top 2 or 3.
Yeah, top 2 or 3.
So one thing that we implemented, shortly after I joined, was the idea of and the concept of the platinum rule. So many of you guys have probably heard of the golden rule before, right? It's pretty straightforward. Treat others how you'd want to be treated. It's also a guiding principle and bedrock for the Marriott brands, for Four Seasons. It's pretty out there as it relates to how you want to service in hospitality. Well, there's also a slight nuance called the platinum rule. And it's very similar to the golden rule with one small change, in that we should be treating our members the way they want to be treated. And it's a very slight nuance, and yet to me, when it comes to service and hospitality, it truly makes all the difference in the world, right? Because whether you are someone who wants to be very social, go to every social gathering, and if you're someone that just likes to sit on the beach and read a book, you want to be treated very differently and given different options for what you would like. And so as a rule, that's really how we've really sought to elevate our experiences. So with that, I'd like to highlight, I think I'd highlight 2 folks. Take a step back. We have something called the Platinum Challenge, and really is the call to action to get all of our concierge, ambassadors, frankly, everyone in the home office at Denver as well, to really elevate what they're doing to that next level. And so when they do, we celebrate it. So the first person I can think of, her name is Kiara, and she is the concierge over in Tuscany. And Kiara is a wonderful person, building really great relationships. But last year, one of our members had studied abroad in Italy 35 years ago, had no idea where this person was anymore, had lost contact about 35 years ago. And when he was coming to Tuscany, he said, Kiara, I want to meet my host mother. Kind of a tall order if you think about it.
With all 35 years gone by.
Exactly. When all you have is the name of that person. But lo and behold, Kiara was not deterred. She put on her detective hat and ended up trying to track down where this host mother was. And she was very successful. And in fact, they were able to host a reunion 35 years after this person last saw this host mother.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
I mean, it's one of those things you kind of hear about in storybooks, right? And it's just nice to hear that that's something that our concierge did for our member. And frankly, let me say that is not a typical part of the job description of a concierge to be a detective.
Right.
The second one is also very heartwarming in that we had a family, the Dawsons, and the father actually needed a heart transplant. And so a few years ago, our ambassador, Michelle Bacone, had met them in person. So that is one thing we try to do too. We always encourage our ambassadors to meet our members in person, because that's just another key to unlocking that really personal relationship. Um, and but they waited years for it. I think it was every single year, like, how's it going? We're still waiting. We're still waiting. And then finally, he actually got that heart transplant. And Michelle was so elated and so happy that not only did she get the family an amenity, in the shape of a cookie jar with the shape of a heart on it, but she actually mentioned this to our whole company. And every single person in our Denver home office wrote a note of encouragement to put inside that cookie jar, so that when this family received it, he not only had a nice gift to remember Exclusive Resorts by, but also a personalized note from every single person inside the office because of that heart transplant. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but that to me, that's the magic of Exclusive Resorts, right? Those are the relationships that you build. That's the secret sauce of really what makes us so different.
Love that. Thank you for sharing those stories. Gina, I want to talk about the experience collection, and you tend to be the one I can say that everyone goes to for travel tips, because you really are on the ground, you and your team, scouting these incredible destinations and partnerships with, quite frankly, the world's leading travel companies and organizations that Exclusive partners with. So let's talk about how the Experience Collection has evolved throughout the years and why you created it in the first place too.
Great. Well, the Experience Collection actually came from member demand, and I love that. We're really here to provide what members want. And about 2008, members were like, love the houses, but we still want to go on safari. We want to go to Antarctica. We like traveling with you guys, so you should take us there. And we were like, I don't know, we do houses really well. Let's focus on houses. We're like, okay, we'll try it. So we put out 4 trips. They filled like gangbusters, and we've been off and running ever since. We now put out 10 different once-in-a-lifetime trips each year for members to sign up for, with multiple departures. We learned very early on that our members are past the stage in their life where they want a very low price and then to get nickel and dime in the back end. So they want to see the flat price, sign up, and we call it show up. So all the taxes are included, which can be 20%. All the gratuities are included. So members never have to worry, what currency am I tipping in? Who do I need to tip? All the alcohol is included, because it can be kind of awkward on a trip if you have a nice glass of wine and then someone before you leave is like, here's your little tab of how much you owe. So our trips are extremely inclusive, and members love that about them. The other couple special ingredients to the once-in-a-lifetime trips are we scout every single trip. So like I said earlier, our team goes on every trip before you do. We go to every hotel, usually numerous hotels, to find the right fit. We try every restaurant. We meet every guide, try every activity. This makes sure we do not go to Uncle Bob's cousin's rug shop with you, and we keep only the A+ activities. We really nail down with the locals, what is the coolest thing you've ever seen? If you could do anything, what would you do? And this happened in our was with the guide in Egypt, and we were outside of the Sphinx area. You can't go up close to the Sphinx, so we were watching, I don't know, just kind of taking it in. And he's like, I've only seen one time, somebody go up front to the Sphinx. And I was like, oh, well, tell me. He was like, it was Leonardo DiCaprio. And I was like, really? And I said, do that. And he was like, he made a donation to the restoration of the Sphinx. And I was like, we can make a donation to the restoration of the Sphinx. So sure enough, 18 months later, we were back there. Every couple got to take their Christmas card photo right in front of that Sphinx. It still hasn't been restored, but that's part of its charm. So that's what our team does on the ground to make sure you have an A+ experience. We know members do not have the time to comb through which is the best operator to go to Egypt, which is the best person to go to India with. So we do that for you. And then the other special element of the trips is really the members. Members are fascinating. So when you get them together, they all have unique stories, and barriers are really broken down. Often on our trips, I have a hard time doing the initial cheers to be like, welcome, because everybody's off and chatty. Have you been to Cabo? Who was your housekeeper? Did she make guacamole? Have you gone to this boat tour? And you just already know everyone's vetted and part of the Exclusive Resorts community. So the bonds form so quickly. For some reason, I consider this like my highest job satisfaction is when people meet on the once-in-a-lifetime trips and then they travel to the homes together. I really have nothing to do with it, so I'm not sure why but I get so excited.
It's that psychic salary, Gina, that we always talk about. You know, that there's that one that the people are so passionate about our job here, and it's not because of the money. It's really about those relationships that are built and what we can do for our members.
Yeah, it's really fun. There's this group of like 6 members, couples. They all met on one of our cruises. We do a seaboard cruise every year where we charter the whole ship. And now, like, they don't even, the folklore of how they become friends, they don't even realize this is how they all became friends. And they, you know, they have like a name for themselves, and they go to all of each other's weddings, and okay, when's the trip? We all want to be on the same floor. And I mean, it's really amazing to see. And they really became friends through exclusive resorts. So we love that. Some of our special trips are, we've done a trip to Australia and New Zealand that has lots of surprises. Don't tell anyone, but I'll tell you some of the surprises. So you kind of know the things that we do. But one day you take a ferry, a private ferry, and go to an island and have this, you know, fun day. And it ends with a wine tasting with Sauvignon Blanc and fresh oysters. And then as a surprise, we have helicopters come and land on the ground. So you don't take the boat back, and the helicopters take you back. So we do lots of little, we can do that with the buying power of the group and our connections to make the trip truly once in a lifetime.
That all sounds like so much fun. And honestly, Gina, it sounds like you have the finest job in the world.
I was going to say, everyone
One
wants
day
her
I'm going
job.
to be on Gina's team.
Exactly.
Not sure when, but.
Exactly. Gina, I want to ask as well, because Rachel mentioned in the beginning of the session, traveling with little kids. So the Experience Collection, while it is incredible, some of these trips are obviously planned several months in advance, and there's specific dates. What about families that want to travel with their family on their particular dates, if they're trying to navigate, you know, different school schedules and such? How do you cater to those needs as well?
Great question. This also came from member demand, from just what Erin said. We just want to go with our family for many different reasons, school schedules, needs. So we created the Adventure Collection. So now we have over 40 adventures by Exclusive Resorts that you can go on whatever date you want to go on with just your family. Some of the special ones are, we have a ski safari, I should say, in the Dolomites, where you ski from lodge to lodge and have 5-star Michelin dinners at night. Members love that trip. We have some great family trips where you have a private guide and driver every day through Ireland, through Italy, through Spain, and that's really wonderful. So if your kids are having a great day and you can knock out lots of stuff, and we have lots of hands-on activities, gladiator school, you know, pizza making classes, you can do it. Or if your kids are having a meltdown, to be like, take us back to the hotel. Every hotel always has a pool on our family trips, and let's start over tomorrow. So those custom trips, we have 20 that Exclusive Resorts puts on, and then we partner with National Geographic to do additional 20 as well. So it gives a lot of options to members to travel just with their family, or if they want to travel on the once-in-a-lifetime group trips.
Fantastic, thank you. That ski safari just climbed to the top of my wish list. Robin, I want to ask you, obviously, we're all a group of avid travelers that are with us today, and we're hearing about different changing scenarios in the travel environment almost daily given the current climate. Can you speak a little bit further to what makes Exclusive unique compared to other vacation options, especially in today's environment?
Absolutely. I'm still drooling over everything that Gina just talked about every time she talks
She really
about
has
travel.
the best job.
I just want to get out there and go and do something. It's incredible what you do, Gina. So I think to answer your question, Erin, you know, we're more of a choice in lifestyle. Members invest in us, and we invest in them. When we welcome a new member into the club, and we're planning their vacations for the next 10 plus years. We're here for the long term together, and that really changes the relationships. You know, we're much more like family. You know, we're a closed community, a private club, and our business model is not transactional like many other hospitality companies, and that's proven to be a huge advantage, and is the reason we've been so successful over the past few decades. Members simply love the club. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. They really do, and they pay their annual dues every year and have 12 months to travel throughout our portfolio of residences and experiences. During the recent COVID-19 outbreak, we've obviously needed to make adjustments, and our approach has been one of flexibility. We've been very proactive about changing our policies and then ensuring members have complete peace of mind, allowing them to make the decision about when they feel comfortable to travel again. We've revised our cancellation policies to provide additional flexibility, to give our members the time to plan and adjust their existing reservations. And then we've been very flexible in terms of giving members longer to utilize their days to travel in the club, given the current pause in travel. And I think what's been most interesting for me to see is just that the huge pent-up demand from our members, that they're itching to get out there and travel again. And I think that really speaks a lot about the trust members place in us as a club, and we take that very seriously. I could talk for hours about how incredible all our residences are, but ultimately I think what makes the club unique is it's the entire experience. We're a community, and those personal bonds that you've heard Jay and Gina talk about, that our members have with other members, with their vacation ambassadors, and with the incredible team we have all over the globe is unique. And I think that's really what makes the club special.
Great, thank you. Yeah, what a unique lifestyle. Jay, in speaking a little bit further to what Robin just hit upon as far as new safety protocols and traveling in a post-COVID world, how is Exclusive changing even further to make members feel safe while traveling? If you can speak to that even more.
Sure, absolutely. I think the way I'll start off is there was a recent article in CNN, I think it was just released yesterday, and the headline was, "Safety is now the sexiest word in travel." Imagine that, right? I think that before you think about kind of the glitz and glam and all these things that you get to do while you're there. Now it's about safety and cleanliness. But I think that's actually where we win, right? Because I think given the way we operate our homes, we manage every single one of our destinations, which is very different than many other business models, especially with the sharing economy. Airbnb manages effectively none of their homes. And I think that this allows us to really be able to enact standards and measures that no other villa rental company effectively would be able to provide. So I'd really put this into 3 buckets that I think are helpful to understand. The first is our cleaning protocol. So with the advent of COVID-19 and the pandemic, we relaunched new brand standards that directly address how we clean our homes in every single one of our homes and destinations around the world. So things like deep cleaning for high touch areas, sanitizing all the dishes, increasing cleaning time, to the extent that we can. If there are homes where there's a back-to-back reservations and there's another home that's unoccupied, we'll flip it to make sure that there's enough time in between for an isolation period. All of these things that we're doing, can be done across the board, across the entire portfolio, because we manage and own every single one of these relationships with all of our housekeeping partners. The second thing I'll talk about really is about personal protection equipment, right? So PPE. That is quickly becoming a standard because, as you guys well know, in this day and age, and frankly for the foreseeable future, we're gonna have to be wearing masks because we wanna make sure we're protecting other people from potential virus spread and so forth. So as a result of that, you can be guaranteed that every time you travel inside our homes, you will have masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, and disinfecting wipes so that you can feel at ease to make sure that you have every amenity that you need to make sure you feel clean. In addition to that, we are also continuing to pioneer and innovate and test new technologies that we think will help further sanitize our homes to give our members even more peace of mind. The last thing I'll touch upon really quickly just is the idea of contact-free travel, right? Because most of the time, even in the resort setting, you're going to need to interact with people if you want to get to your hotel room, your resort, your villa. Given technologies that we've launched last year, we can truly innovate and activate on a truly contact-free vacation if that's what you desire. So what do I mean by that? In planning for your trip, obviously you do everything you typically do, interfacing with your concierge, speaking with your ambassador, and so forth. We can make arrangements to make sure you can get into your home so you don't have to see anybody. Throughout your entire trip, we have a mobile app that allows you to interface with your primary points of contact, inclusive of your ambassador, your regional director, as well as every concierge that you've had in the past, as well as in the future, for any need that you have, right? So whether you need some towels, you want to get takeout, you need recommendations for where to go for this evening, that can all be done through the app. Finally, when you check out, You'll also be able to check out through the app because we've integrated our mobile technology with our mobile billing system, with our in-home billing system. So for all destinations where we create the house bill, you'll be able to split the bill, pay it on their credit card, and effectively complete your entire stay without seeing a single person. And by the way, know that your refrigerator will be stocked because we've already pre-purchased groceries for you. You have your entire itinerary all set for you, so you can do everything that you want to do just without having to necessarily interact with too many people, given the current environment. So for me, I think that we have really a big advantage when it comes to innovative technologies that enable us to let you feel at ease and have the type of travel that you want given the current environment.
That's great. Thank you so much for that detailed answer. And I think that, you know, options and choices are obviously what everyone is working towards. And that's something that certainly sounds like you deliver. Rachel, I want to talk to you a little bit further. We're all touting, well, everyone's job, all of our panelists, and we're talking about Gina and how great her job is, but you also have an amazing job in the sense that you are really the connector. You are getting to know every prospective member that joins the club, and you know all of their preferences and what they're looking for. So my question to you is, what are the top 3 reasons that people join the club? What do you see as people asking the most for?
That's a good question. It's hard because I think people look at the value of exclusive resorts and what we provide in different ways, and where they are, again, back to your first question regarding kind of life stage and meaningful. I think it would probably fall into a few buckets. I think the first you heard a lot about, but I'll reiterate that the comfort of certainty is key. So we all have talked about how stressful travel can be and planning, which is why Gina's job is so great. Whenever you can just show up and whatever you call it, show up and go. And that's exacerbated when you don't know what to expect. You absolutely know what to expect every single time you travel with exclusive resorts. We deliver these incredible experiences because we know your family. So your ambassador, who I think is the heart and soul of exclusive resorts, coupled with our in-destination teams, understand what's important to you and what's important to your family, so they can curate and kind of create things if you're going to Sea Island, or if you're going to Real Del Mar, or it's just my favorite place, or on one of Gina's expeditions, if you will. And you know you're staying in a residence that is the top notch. We've taken care of every detail. We know you, and we'll create the experience each time for your family. You also know you're in a safe, secure environment with privacy, and that the privacy and reassurance gives people great peace of mind. So they trust us over and over again to create these memories for them and their families. I was thinking about your question after I finished, and I thought I was talking about the different families and the dynamics and why people join. And I think an interesting key fact, and when you look at this often, is our members travel about 28 to 30 days a year with the club in the portfolio. And so, because they can do quick long weekends or those big significant family trips, or things that are important, because we do all the legwork. They can pick up and go with the piece of and knowledge that everything will be okay. So I think certainty and the comfort around that. I go back to Robin's point, which is what we have him on this call for, to keep us in line, is that the value of what the club provides financially. We're a shared service model, but that we, in homes that the club in many cases have built and designed by and for our members in a private portfolio, but it creates a really incredible value when you look at trying to fit into 2 or 3 hotel rooms at the Four Seasons, or comparable villas on the outside market that can be, upwards of $5,000 a night. And when you look at what exclusive resorts provide from a value aspect, plus all the service that's built in the back, I think that creates an incredible reason for people to join. And the last thing is this community of members. And I say, kind of when I started, even when I joined, and then coming to work for the club, it's almost been a bit of a byproduct of what has been created by just these really amazing member communities, both on the trips that people take in different destinations with Gina and her team, to going back, to Jay said, multiple times to the same destination, because the team that's been there for 10 or 15 years, and it's just this family of welcoming people back home. So, in the past, that privacy was really kind of a non-essential, if you will, privilege. And now it's going to be a stakeholder and a key element to what we provide with personal safety and security. But that's something we've always done. It's just part of what Exclusive Resorts has done for upwards of 2 decades. And members really like to know that they know and we know who's staying next door with them. So we've created this portfolio of homes, and they know that if they walk out the door in Grand Cayman, that the villa next to them is an Exclusive Resorts member, and they'll start a conversation, and they know that they value the same things of family and building memories that member values as well. We welcome about 150 to 200 families a year, so that we can create that consistent, quality in the experience, and enables our ambassadors to truly have the opportunity to know every family. And I think that's the last point, is that we know every family by name. They are our family. We are an Exclusive Resorts family. They're not a one person traveling somewhere. And creating that type of community is probably the third reason I think people really see the value in joining Exclusive Resorts.
Wonderful. Thank you for that explanation. I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time who's joined us today, because we've gone just slightly over, but Howard, who's on the session, wanted to know, and Robin, I'll have you answer this. What is Exclusive's governance structure? Who is on the board of directors?
Sure. So we are a private held company, but we operate a little bit more like a public company in terms of our governance structure. We do have a board of directors, which is headed up by Steve Case, who's our chairman and majority owner. And then, we have Philippe Bourguignon, who's our co-chairman. And then 4 members, of the board who come from various areas all over the travel industry. From travel magazine background to background in hospitality and all over the travel industry, and that's how the club is governed. I'd love to kind of talk more. I saw some other kind of financial questions, and I know we're running out of time. So Howard, if you want to have a separate conversation at some point, I'm happy to get on the phone with you and I'll answer a few things in more detail.
That's great. Thank you, Robin. And one other question, and then we'll go around the room. I want to ask one more thing of each of you, but someone else was asking, with 4,000 members, how does Exclusive manage the ratio of members to properties? If more join, will access become more challenging?
Yeah, so I mean, we constantly evaluate our real estate portfolio and the offerings to our members. So, as we grow as a club, we're adding inventory and destinations and new destinations based on member feedback and tweaking what we need. We also add a lot of seasonal inventory, ski villa, and European villas, for example, to kind of balance the overall need with our member base. So, just like with every business, as we see an increase in demand and membership, we adjust the portfolio accordingly.
Okay.
I just add, often I get that question often, right, on how we scale. And people often think that everyone, again, is in the same similar situation. I'm in Texas. I like spring break the first week of March. Well, people on the West or East Coast don't travel during that time. So the fact that we have members from so many different areas, and additionally, often we give members a flexibility of traveling at different days each year. So people can elect 15 days a year up to 60 days a year. So a night's not necessarily a night. And when you think of members to specific homes, if that makes sense, it's the way we manage occupancy within the portfolio that allows for the flexibility to travel and plan the things that are important in advance, but a lot of last minute opportunity to just kind of pick up and go. So I just wanted to make that point too.
Great, thank you. And in closing, I just want to go around the room, so to speak, and ask each of you if you can just briefly describe a travel moment where you never thought you would XYZ. Something that's been a big surprise moment. And Rachel, I'm putting you in the hot seat since you were talking last.
She's used to it.
Something that was a complete travel surprise.
I don't know that I've been at a loss for words most times in my life, but you have stumped me.
You can look at it as a favorite memory, and if someone else wants to hop in while you're thinking, we can do that too.
I think a hot potato it over to Jay, and you can come back to me at the end.
Sure. And frankly, you're cheating because I have a favorite memory where everything kind of clicked. But what I'll share is that is actually a recent experience that I had when I visited one of our destinations. And that destination was the Four Seasons Anguilla. So as you guys might remember, when I first started this conversation, I mentioned that I came from Four Seasons. So I have visited a lot of the destinations, a lot of the homes and the rooms and so forth. But when I was at the Four Seasons Anguilla, this time as a part of exclusive resorts, it finally clicked, right? In that I had access to all the amenities at Four Seasons, all the incredible restaurant there, the incredible infinity pool, the beach, kind of everything you can imagine, plus a 4-bedroom residence that was kind of a beautiful 4-bedroom with 2 pools and a hot tub, and my dedicated concierge, right? And to me, that's where it really hit home, in that you have the access to all of these amenities that all the world's best hotels, luxury resorts and hotels have. And yet you have an elevated experience because you have that person that knows your exact preferences, that special touch to make your individual moment that much more unique. And to me, that's what exclusive resorts is, right? And that you have the homes, right? You can buy a hotel room anywhere you want to go, but you don't have that relationship and you don't have that special touch. And to me, that's the part that's most special about our company.
Great, thank you. Gina, I'm going to toss it over to you now. 70 countries, one of your biggest travel surprises or favorite memories?
I think one of my biggest surprises and memories is just how exclusive resorts is obviously hugely important to all of us, and what an important part it is to our members' lives. There's a member couple from Omaha, and I'm from Chicago, so we kind of bonded quickly. We've been on numerous trips together. So my husband is a huge CU Buffs fan, and they're huge Nebraska fans. And we had this ongoing banter. When CU and Nebraska finally played each other, we would all go. So sure enough, they played. They're like, all right, we got the tickets. I took the day off of work. We drove down from Denver to Nebraska. We went to the game. One, totally thinking Nebraska would win, but CU, like, out of nowhere won. So it was a little awkward in that sense. But we went back to their house, and they had their kids over and their grandkids to meet Gina, who they've gone on all these trips with. And in their house, they had 8x10 photos of every once-in-a-lifetime trip they had been on and every family exclusive resorts trip they had been on. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is such a huge part of their lives. And all the grandkids got to tell me their favorite trips and who gets to choose the trip. And his older sister got to choose Little Dick's Bay, but he really wanted to go somewhere else. And, the problems of an 8-year-old. So seeing it kind of all come together in their family was just such a special, special moment. And that we have those types of relationships with our members is really awesome. So
that is awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Robin, how about you? A personal travel story that you want to share?
Sure. I mean, I've obviously only been with the company for a short amount of time, and I've managed to go and see a couple of our destinations, but not get out there as much as I'd like to. But one thing hit me, and this was very early on. My family and I got the opportunity to go up last minute to Snowmass, Colorado, and it was in September, and my wife's birthday and both my kids' birthdays are all in September, so we call it kind of the birthday month. And we arrived late at night after driving up there. The kids are tired, and we get into the property, and there's champagne there. There's cupcakes for the kids. There's a little sign saying "Congratulations, the birthday month." And I hadn't said anything to anyone, so it was just absolutely incredible. And my kids just they were blown out of the water by it. And obviously, when the kids are happy, the parents are happy. So that was just an awesome little thing, but absolutely fantastic.
Right, absolutely. Thank you. And Rachel, back to you now.
Now that you asked me, I've got so many in my mind that I don't know which one to choose. I've been just sitting here thinking and writing down, God, that was amazing. That was amazing. But I think to Gina's point, that's why the club's special. Like, you go to a destination and you have this meaningful experience with your family and your children. You're like, I'm coming back here every year. This was the coolest. This was amazing. I'll never forget my dad watching my child learn to swim in the ocean for the first time, and just things that were so important. And we love our Riel Del Mar family, which is kind of our home away from home. When you walk in and they hand a margarita to you and they say, welcome home, things like that you are just so important to our family. But I think probably the most meaningful and surprising to me is in Hawaii, a trip to the Big Island in Hawaii, and with my family. My father was fighting stage 4 renal cancer, and I wanted to go back to Hawaii, and so we rallied the troops and got there. And I have a toddler, and we're flying in 18 planes, and we get there, and really, I think it speaks to kind of, this is what Exclusive Resorts is. They knew that my dad was very ill. Carol, who's amazing and is part of the team that's there, kind of knew me, and that our faith was important to us, and kind of where we were in our life stage. And she asked that we, if she could do something for us. And of course, I said yes. And she was to be outside tomorrow, early morning. And we, walked out the door, and we walked into the beach, and she had arranged kind of a Hawaiian healing ceremony for my father. And that moment, as I was surrounded kind of by my sisters and my parents and my toddler at that time, just the vision is so vivid. I will never forget what that experience was. And I could have never even thought to create that, knew how, or understood it. And her understanding where we were in our life and what was meaningful to us and that family time for us allowed that memory for us to have forever. So I think that was probably the most surprised and blessed I felt, as I traveled with the club.
That's special indeed. Thank you so much for sharing that, Rachel. And with that, I'm going to conclude our session, and I want to thank all 4 of you for joining us today and sharing your expertise and knowledge. And for those on the call, we do have a few questions that we weren't able to get to. We will be certain to follow up with you, and we look forward to chatting further with you about Exclusive Resorts. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you soon.